Hey again, it's Keith. I'm the pastor at Calvery Chapel, Punta Banda. I've been down in Ensenada for about 4 months now, and my time in Ensenada, God has given me some great opportunities to serve in different ministries. And one of my favorite ministries has been the Elrefugio Girls Home here locally in Ensenada. I'm here with Yani. She used to be one of the girls here, but now God is using her in Thailand to do ministries there. And then I have Randy and Sandy. They're all the way from Canada, and they're here. They want to share a little bit about what God's doing here, as well as talk about their relationship with Yannette and everything God's doing through her, and just kind of how God put this whole thing together. So, Randy and Sandy, if you want to tell us a little bit about what it's like to serve in El Refugio and kind of exactly what this ministry is.
Okay, so our ministry, thank you, Pastor Keith. Our ministry is a girls' home, basically. That's our main focus. And our goal has always been to help girls, to provide a safe and a loving home for them, to give them opportunities that they may not have otherwise and probably would not have otherwise, whether it be education, life skills, all those different things. But the main purpose really is to teach the girls about Jesus, because without Jesus, there really is no hope, and change is really difficult without Christ. And so that is why our home exists. So,
one of the things that we always do is pray to the Lord regularly, daily, that He would bring the girls to us that we're to work with, and that we'd be able to say no to the ones that we shouldn't. And because we do get a lot of requests to bring girls here, but because of finances and staff and stuff like that, I mean, it goes bit by bit. And we do. And about 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago, we got a phone call from social services asking if we'd be willing to take a girl that was almost 17, and normally we just wouldn't do that. They get to be a little bit challenging at that age, but we had prayed all the time, Lord, bring the girls that we're to work with. And we felt in our heart that Yannette, we didn't know her name at the time, but that this girl should come to our home. And it started a long journey, and we've been tremendously blessed to have her part of our ministry, to have her part of our home, and to see how God has used her in incredible ways.
Would you say your time with Yannette was always butterflies and gumdrops, or did you have your challenges?
Well, Yani, did we have our challenges?
I don't know.
Just a few. There was a few times going to the school, checking up to see if she actually showed up for class. A few other things. There was a few struggles, definitely.
So, Yannette, what was it like for you when you first met Randy and Sandy?
Well, it was a little bit hard. Honestly, it was a little bit hard because it was hard to believe that, like, first of all, that white people would help us, that white people would help the Mexican people, and how white people would help me, right? And it was a little bit strange in the beginning, honestly, because when I got here, they only told me you will be there only for 2 weeks. But those 2 weeks became 7 years. So, but after a little while, after a time, I don't know, it's just hard to explain, but after a while, I was start seeing that love that I couldn't really understand why, right? How can some people that for me by that time were strangers, that now they're not, but at that time they were strangers for me, and I was like, how can strangers help you? How can strangers love you so much? How can strangers help you in many ways, knowing they didn't even know me very well. And after that, I just realized, and I had my own experience, that it was like God. It was through God. It was that God was using them to help me. It was that God sent them to rescue me from what I was.
So tell us about when did you first feel that God was calling you to the mission field, calling you away from Ensenada, calling you from what you knew was familiar to something very, very unfamiliar? And then how did you know that God was calling you to Thailand?
Well, like I did my first mission trip that I did by myself away from the refuge. It was through a different church that I joined. We went down to Oaxaca to build homes. So that was the first time that I went to a mission trip, and afterwards I just really felt like I really like doing missions, and also like I was like I do really like going to different places and to help people and to share with people about Jesus and just to share them that just to share them the same to share with them the same God who rescued me, you know. So I finished high school and I didn't really like school at all. Honestly, I never liked school. And so after that, we were just looking for different options for me, and I got the opportunity to go to Wyman in Canada. So I went to a Wyman in Canada to do a DTS for 6 months, and the 2 months of the training, we went to Burma in Thailand, and God really used the people in Burma just to really open my eyes, just to really open my eyes and just to see the reality of what's outside in the world, just to really see the reality. It was almost like I always say that it was almost like if I was blind, and when I went to my first mission trip, God took one layer out to see what was happening outside it and how many people were lost and they were in like they were in need to know more about Jesus. And then when I went to Burma, there was another layer that God took out of my eyes, and I saw the reality and I saw how much people in Burma they need Jesus. They need to hear that Jesus is the only hope. Jesus to hear, and I always feel like I want to share with them. I always want to be able to rescue them, to help them to be rescued by God. How I say, like the same way that He rescued me in the beginning.
That's wonderful. Was there any time between your calling, when you knew God called you to the people of Burma, when you knew God was bringing you to that region of the world, and to when it actually happened? Like, what was that process? What did it look like? What did you have to go through?
Well, I went through so many trials. I went through so many challenges. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, honestly. There was many times that I just really felt like I just really felt that it wasn't my time. Many times I felt like I'm not enough to go into the mission field. Always what comes from this to my mind. I'm a Mexican, so I don't make.
Quite right.
That's what they
We're not
call it.
live. It's
That's what
okay.
they call
Sorry.
it. Anyway,
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Just calling.
okay, my turn.
Okay.
And then you can continue on. And you might want to edit it out, but that's okay. One of the things I always felt early in meeting Yani that she was called to serve the Lord in some kind of ministry. I didn't know what it was until later on. And we've worked with a lot of girls, but I felt so strong in my heart, and I told her many times, you're called to serve God. You're called to go full time into the ministry. And a few years later, I started to say it's missions. I felt very strongly that she was called to do missions.
So, how long have you now been living in Thailand?
It's been already a year and 2 months.
Okay, year two. What would you say is the most difficult thing with your ministry in Thailand?
One of the most difficult things that has been for me is just to really see, for me it's been always been hard to work with. I love working with the girls. I love working with girls and children from Thailand, with girls that are from Burma. But it's been hard for me just to see them the way they're living, and just to see them how they're living their life and knowing that they're running from their own country. They're running to find a place that they can have freedom, and they still don't have freedom. Even knowing that they are in a safe place, they still have no freedom. But still seeing them with with a big smile, still seeing them happy, and always with a big heart of like to serve others. that for me just bring me back and bring me into just as God, like what, wow, God, what did I do to deserve this amazing opportunity to come and help these people? Because for me it's like I feel like God has been trust to me these girls' lives. I feel like God has trust so much to me, giving me the opportunity and the honor to go in and work in this country, in this nation.
For you, Randy and Sandy, I was thinking this as she was talking. Do you feel that the emotion she's expressing towards the people in Thailand is relatable?
No.
I've seen a lot of photos from Yani and from talking with her FaceTime and so on, and I've said many times to Sandy and to her, I don't know how she can keep doing it day after day.
Yeah.
And we had the privilege of going down to Thailand and spending a couple weeks to work alongside Yani, and it broke me in several different areas. One of the children's homes we went to, struggling very, very much, and to see this beautiful little girl, 7, 8 years old, from Burma, missing 2 hands, 1 foot, the other foot completely pointing backwards, and to see that smile, that joy she had, because she had Christ in her heart, but that was, I'm not sure if it was from a landmine or for a bomb, but something had happened to her, and see this crippled little girl, it broke me. And some of the other homes that we went to, it was hard. When Yani shared on Sunday morning at church, to see some of those homes that we had gone to and met, some of those children and stuff like that, it was hard. And we love her very much, and it's amazing work that she's been called to do, and hard and difficult.
What would you say is, right now, with everything you're doing in Thailand, what would you say is your biggest need?
My biggest need. It doesn't really actually happen to me, but I don't know why they really hit me, like, because it made me think about like.
It's because the need is beyond you,
Yeah,
but it's
like
not beyond God.
it made me like to think twice before what I'm going to say, because is that need actually for me? Because always when somebody asks what do you need, and we always think first about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And something that God has been really like working on me is just like really like not just to think about me, but just I think about my girls back in Thailand that they're in so much need, right? And anything that I think right now I need, it doesn't compare with what they need back in Thailand. And just to keep praying for the nation of Thailand and Burma, to keep praying for those girls, for those kids, that they will find God, not just as their father, but also as their best friend, that they will know that there is someone who hears them. Even knowing that they don't have a choice to run, that there is someone who's running with them, that they're not alone.
One thing I can say is this last Sunday, Yanette was shared with our congregation in Calvery, Chapple, Punta Banda, and I didn't really know her story. I knew that our church is fully behind her, and I'm really excited with our church's mission support. But I was so much more excited after hearing her story. And one thing that I told my wife, and I haven't told you this, but she is a very humble young lady who her desire to serve the Lord with the proper heart is humbling for myself. When I think about what Randy and Sandy have done and how they've poured into her life, and then I think about that now she is doing what they have done for her for others, it just really shows nothing short of a miracle. It shows that God is so much bigger than we know, and how you have this connection from someone in Canada all the way across the continent to connect with someone down here in Mexico who has now gone all the way around the world in order to share the love of God that has been put into her life and has been taught to her from the example of Randy and Sandy. It legitimately keeps me so much more centered on my Lord, knowing how powerful and how grand He is, and how how much greater I can ever imagine. He does above and beyond whatever I ask or can ever imagine. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to get to know Randy and Sandy, and I know over the years that we worked together down here, all with the same purpose to really grow the kingdom of God. I'm very grateful that for the past few weeks that I've got to meet Yannette, and I'm very, very, very grateful that I got to hear her testimony. And I'll tell you what, if you ever want to know more about her, you can contact Calvary Chapel Punta Banda. We have a direct connection with Randy and Sandy as well as Yannette, and I'm sure she would love just to have the support. I know one thing that would benefit more than anything else will benefit is just prayer. I love when people tell me they're praying for me, and I know they feel the exact same way. Without prayer, what we're doing, I've said this a lot, is a waste of time. But through prayer, lives are changed.
Amen.
Through prayer, the hand of God can move, and through prayer, the kingdom of God will grow. And ultimately, that's what we're all about. Is we want more bodies in heaven for all of eternity. So thank you guys. This was just a blessing. Hopefully you guys were blessed by Yannette's story. And like I said, if you ever want to get in contact with Randy or Sandy or Yannette, you can contact us through this page, and we'll get you guys connected.
Amen. Thank you.
One time.
Yani called me out here back a few months back when she'd been in Thailand for 6 or 7 months, and she'd gone to Canada to visit. And she was with her Canadian parents and had a beautiful meal and things like that. And then at the very end, she got up and went downstairs, and she called me up and she was just broken. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "I got this beautiful meal, and it was so much food, and I was so blessed. And at the end, they gave me a peach, this big peach." And she goes, "It just broke me to think that my girls back in Thailand, they don't even have a peach. And how can I eat this peach when they have nothing?" And I shared with her, as God just spoke to me, I shared with her that God wants to bless you, and He wants to teach you, and He wants to bless you with a peach. And ever since that time, Yani and I have this thing that go back and forth where I'll say, "Think of your peach," or she'll say, "Think of your peach. Think of the blessings that God has given us," because it's so easy to get lost in our thoughts or our flesh or our hurt or, "Oh, I don't have this or that," but we have so many peaches in our lives, so many blessings from God. And that's been a thing back and forth with her. And when she picked me up at the airport in Canada, she gave me this big hug and she gave me a peach. And
That's a wonderful story.
very strong.
Jesus.